Fear Street Part 3, 1666 is the final film of the trilogy. It's a Netflix film that's been out for quite some time. And the origins of Sarah Fier's curse are finally revealed as history comes full circle on a night that changes lives of Shadysiders forever. And this is a different movie. You know, it starts off in 1666, so the tone is completely different. And you follow our characters. Well, we've seen these characters before in the other movies. Like in the first film, you saw the main character. They play different characters. And you follow the Sarah Fier, and you're thrown into this village full of villagers that see Sarah Fier, and they see her as, you know, pretty much you gotta see Sarah Fier pretty much like survive the night almost. So pretty much you get the landscape of the villagers, you get to understand how these villagers feel, and you get to understand how these villagers are, and also there's some politics on the side. All the villagers debate amongst themselves, like I mentioned earlier about, you know, they have debates and discussions and you all that jazz in the film, and all this brings in the emotional thrill towards the film, and it brings in the emotional turmoil with the audience and the character. The payout on that movie just doesn't deliver, because even you sort of know the events is going to transpire. You've seen the flashback scenes in the other two movies, so you kind of have a layout understanding of what's going to happen, so it's predictable in that part. But I just feel like that the execution of it worked. Leading on to the ending, like the execution of the story definitely worked, even though it's predictable and cliche at times. But I feel like as long as the execution was there, I feel like the film definitely flourished, and the performances definitely worked. Like everyone had a good performance in this movie. I found myself just enjoying from start to finish just how seeing the characters that appeared in the other movies appear as different characters. I like that in this movie. And even though there's some that they're playing in 1666, so some of the characters are required, some of the actors and actresses are required to have an accent. The accent wasn't there for some of the actors and some of the characters, but still, I still was enjoying the movie for what it was. It did have the action thrills. It had the emotional thrills as well that I can definitely gravitate towards. There's a relationship bond between the two main characters in this film, and I did buy. And to really say that the film did a good job of really executing the story and making the story cohesive, of transitioning from part 1 all the way to part 3. The film did have a few flaws here and there, like, you know, cliche story plots and, you know, cheesy characters, cliche characters. But the film does a good job of wrapping itself in a bow. There's some really small little nitpicks, I have to say, what mostly has to do with the transitioning of the different time periods. Like, we start off in 1666 and we get our story about Sarah Fier, and then we develop, and then we go back into 1994, and we almost have almost like an hour of film left. Like in the third act, they pretty much scaled back on the horror, and they just had more of the horror. They had more of the funny lines and cheesy dialogue. You know, that's understandable. The last thing about this movie was, I wish there was more development on the villagers and the townspeople. Like, most of how they think, it's mostly surface level. I just wish there was a little bit more development so I can get to know the villagers on a deeper level. So I just wish there was a little bit more there than just, I found the witch! The film did a number on me. I had a good time watching this movie. It had a good story. It gone on from start to finish, and it did a good job of wrapping itself up in the bow. There were a few little plot holes and plot details that is noticeable, but outside of that, I was entertained. It did a good job of giving out a good trilogy, and I had to say that this is definitely a good movie to watch. And also, there's an end credit scene I forgot to mention. Yeah, there's an end credit scene. I had to give Fear Street 1666 Part 3 a Christian Bale Batman. This is a good movie. I enjoy, even though it has a little flaws here and there, but I still enjoyed it because, you know, like I said, some of the flaws of the film is actually some of the positives, because it's like the film is self-aware, and even though it's switched in different tone, it's still, the film was self-aware for me to care for the characters in 1994, and also the film did a good job of making me caring for the characters, for the main characters in 1666, but I just wish there was a little bit more development on the story. That's my review of the film. So have you seen 1666? Comment below, let's talk about it, and I'll see you guys in my next review. If you like everything you see and you agree, subscribe to my channel and join me in the Batman family. I have more Batman-tastic reviews in the way. You have been warned. Till then, ciao. Holy mackerel.